My name's Tiffany, and I'm going to be sharing my story with you, which I call the insatiable quest for beauty. But really, it's less about beauty, and it's more about this idea of trying to be good enough, to be accepted, or to be loved, or respected. And so as I share my story about my quest for beauty, I encourage you to start asking God, what's my quest? What do I think will make me good enough? So when I was growing up, I was the most boy-crazy girl you would ever meet in your life. In fact, my dream in life, this is really weird, but it's true, this is my dream in life since a little girl was to grow up, get married by the age of 20, and be martyred or killed for my faith by the age of 22. I don't know why that was my dream, but that's what I wanted. I was a strange child. And so growing up, all I could think was, how am I going to know if a guy likes me? And so one day I was reading this book in which a girl named Rose fainted and a guy rushed to catch her. And I was like, all my questions have suddenly been answered, and the solution is quite simple, because all I have to do now to figure out if a guy likes me is to arrange a fake fainting scenario, and if he catches me, then he must like me. Some of you are judging me right now, and it's okay, I would too. It's so weird. So one day after church, I was playing soccer, and the other team had the ball, and my crush was standing right behind me, and I was like, this is the moment that I have waited my entire 11 years for. Very gracefully, I just said, oh, they got the ball. Oh. I just fell backwards, and the whole time I'm falling, I'm sure that this guy is going to catch me. Well, when I hit the ground, I was like, where did he go? Did he not see me fall? Oh no, he saw. He's standing there staring at me in horror, and then he rolls his eyes and walked away, and I was like, dude, you just had the chance of a lifetime to be married and martyred with this girl. All you had to do was catch me. You're lost, but it was really his life, really. So he was probably thankful for that. But that was my first heartbreak at 11 years old, and my parents were like, girl, you are nuts. You cannot date till college because you are insane. And I was like, that's fine, Mom and Dad. I don't need to date till college because if I'm gonna marry a future martyr, he needs a pretty good resume. So I start putting together this list of all the things I'm looking for in the guy I'm gonna be with someday. And it's got like his height and his hair color and the instruments he plays and his major in college. And at the end of my ridiculously long 3-page list, I put his name because I was like, if God parted the Red Sea back in the day, like, how hard is a name? That's just no big deal compared to that. So I was like, cool, I get to college armed with my list, and my first semester in college at age 17, I meet this guy, like down to his height, his hair color, and his name. It was crazy. So we started dating pretty much immediately, and on the surface, it seemed perfect. Like, he's a youth pastor and a worship leader, and he plays guitar, and he's the right height, and he's got the right name, and all this, and I'm like, this is perfect. And as we start dating, I quickly realize that there's some stuff that's not so great under that very perfect surface, but I just don't want to see the warning signs. And if you don't want to see the warning signs, it's really easy to just kind of look the other way and ignore them, and you can almost fool yourself into thinking everything's okay. But the warning signs started with him telling me, you know, I'm having a hard time falling in love with you because my ex-girlfriend was a 10 on the scale of beauty, and you're just not that attractive to me. I was like, I've never had a boyfriend before, but I'm pretty sure you don't say that to your girlfriend. But I asked him, well, why would you say that? And he said, it's because your face is crooked. Okay. Number one, who notices that somebody else's face is crooked? Like the crooked face police, is this a thing? And number two, I remember going home and looking in the mirror, and for the first time in my life, seeing this crooked face looking back at me. And it became all I could see in myself. And I don't know if you've ever had something you didn't like about yourself, whether it was I'm not smart enough, I'm not athletic enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not pretty enough, but suddenly that one thing we don't like in ourselves can become all we see, and we let that one thing define us as a person. So I stayed with that guy. I should have run for dear life, but instead I stayed, and he had a certain way he wanted me to look and dress. And this is really weird, but it's true. I was supposed to wear white stockings with skirts or dresses, with my hair washed with Pantene Pro V shampoo and conditioner, and then blow dried but not straightened. And if I didn't look that very specific and very strange way, he would become upset or just leave. And so one night, my relatives were in town from Indiana, and we decided to go midnight bowling together. And I was like, okay, I'm in college now. I've I've taken some science courses. I realized that if I go midnight bowling wearing white stockings, my legs are going to glow, I will look like an alien, and that's weird. So I was like, I'll wear what any normal human being would wear to the bowling alley, which is jeans. So we go, and I feel cute and confident. We get back to my parents' house afterwards, and my boyfriend just walks inside, picks up his backpack, and walks back out the door. And I was like, you're not even gonna say goodbye? Like, what's going on? Don't you want to stay and hang out a little while with my family? And he wouldn't look at me, he wouldn't answer me, he just walked out the door. And I was like, what should I do? I know, I'll follow him. I've been told that I used to be a stalker. I'm not anymore though, so follow him out to his car, and I keep asking, like, where are you going? What did I do? And right before my boyfriend leaves, he opens his car door and turns and looks me up and down and says, you're not giving me any reason to stay. And he left. And I felt like these cold hands wrapped around me, and I wanted to melt into the cement. And I was like, so if I don't look the right way for him, he's gonna just leave? And so if I don't look right, if I don't have it all together all the time, if I'm not good enough, if I'm not beautiful, then is anybody ever gonna stick around? I think many of us have faced moments like that in life where whether it's a friend or a boyfriend or girlfriend or a parent, and they walk out and we think, if I'd been better, would things have been different? And that's what that moment was for me. And that was the beginning of what I call my insatiable quest for beauty. What does that even mean? Insatiable is something that can never be satisfied. It's like running after that horizon line on the edge of the earth, right? You can run as fast and as far as you want, but you will never catch it. It keeps moving further away. It's always out of reach. If something's insatiable, we can never really get it, and it will never satisfy our hearts. It'll never make us happy. And what's a quest? A quest is like your holy grail. It's the one thing you want more than anything in this world, and you would do whatever it took to get it. And there are so many different insatiable quests. For me, it was beauty. It was looking a certain way, having this certain image, but there's the quest to be successful enough, to have the right grades, to be athletic enough, to date the right people, to do enough ministry, and none of those things are bad, but none of those things can ever satisfy our hearts. And if we look to them to tell us who we are, they'll leave us empty and broken. So I set off on this quest for beauty, and it consumed me. Like every second of every day, all I could think about was this girl in the mirror, and if she had what it took, if she was good enough. And I would compare myself with everybody else I met, and I could see something I liked in everyone else, but nothing that I liked in myself. And I'd feel so disgusted with myself, so gross, that I started losing my appetite. And then I started losing weight, and that became addictive. And I started to think, well, maybe if I can just get thin enough, then that will be the thing that makes me good enough. And so I started trying to lose weight, and I would go as long as I could, with as little food as I could, until I got what I call these sparkling headaches. And it feels like there's static electricity in your head, and you get really dizzy, and then everything would go black. And I'd black out while driving sometimes, while walking, because I wasn't getting what my body needed. So I was still with that guy this whole time. He kept leaving and coming back and saying things would be different, and I always believed him, but they never really were. And one day, my dad has had enough. Like, I'm becoming a different person. I've lost way too much weight. My personality's changing, and not in a good way. And my dad is like, that's it. He picks up the phone one day, he calls my boyfriend, and he goes, if you ever come to my house again, I will call the police on you. And he hung up, and I was like, goodbye, boyfriend. I think that one is over. So I decided, okay, if I can get far enough away from all the memories, I will snap out of this living nightmare in my head. So I decided to transfer to this Christian college 4 hours away. And the thing is, you cannot run away from yourself. But I tried. So I transferred to this college, and I think it will magically get better, but instead of getting better, I feel so much worse inside. I was like, okay, I'm 19 now. That gives me like 1 year to find a guy, date him, marry him, and 2 more years to get martyred. This is coming up really fast. I don't like who I am. I don't like being single. I don't know who God is. I want nothing to do with God at this point. And I don't have my friends there. I feel so lonely. And I started turning to food for comfort in what's called binge eating. And I would start eating, and it was like I could not stop myself. My brain would be screaming at my hands to put down the food, and I could not do it. And I had never felt so helpless or so out of control in all my life. And when the binge would finally end, I would feel so mad at myself and so guilty, and I'd promised to do better at not eating the next day. And it became this cycle of binge eat, starve yourself, binge eat, starve yourself. And that cycle consumed years of my life, and I thought that I could never be free from it. But it wasn't working. I was gaining weight from the binge eating, and I was back to a normal, healthy body weight, but that's not what I saw when I looked in the mirror. I decided that I would do anything it took to be what I thought was good enough. So one night I remember walking in my bathroom, and I saw my reflection, but I couldn't even recognize myself, because I was like, I would never do what I'm about to do. This isn't me. I remember kneeling down and trying to make myself throw up. The worst part in that moment was that I couldn't do it. I am so thankful for that now, but in that moment, I felt like such a failure. I was like, Tiffany, the one thing you never even wanted to be good at, you failed at that too? What a loser. I felt numb and filthy at the same time, and somewhere in the back of my head, I had this thought, like, maybe my quest for beauty is not taking me on a beautiful path. Maybe it's taking me on a road that is uglier than anything I've ever imagined. And I want to share a song with you that I wrote at this time in my life. This song is called Mask. It goes like